Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Jentry Chau versus the Underworld. A great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, we're immediately picking up where the last episode left off, and obviously, Gugu's not in a good position, and they kind of talk about it later on. There's no healing ghost, so she's heavily wounded, and it's like, what can they do? So Iris gives her something. I think it's just in that moment, like Iris is not fully there. She's just probably latched on to remnants. Probably it kind of comes up later on of ghosts just being memories, right? They're just kind of like, interestingly enough, kind of like an echo of someone that's kind of gone. And so the only thing she really echoes now is like Mooney, because that's probably like the last thing that was going through her mind as she was dying, and you know, so many regrets and stuff, and something that you're holding on for. So when that's all said and done, though, she takes that moment to heal Gugu. Well, she can't heal Gugu, but she wraps her wounds so it's not bleeding from a ghost perspective. And it's just in that moment, it's just like they haven't really been able to talk, and just having her smile at Gugu, I think for her, it's like that was kind of enough of like, because her greatest fear was like, I don't know if my sister hated me or not. And it's like in this moment, there's no clear answer, but I'm sure for Gugu, it's like that was just kind of enough to be like, you don't hate me, and so you're trying to help me, even in the state that you're in, you're still being my sister. So she goes to the school where everything's popping off. The lock-in's going great. Obviously, except for Mooney doing, well, the Mogwai inside of Mooney, teleporting them to the DU, bringing forth her cronies. Because I'm surprised she's not utilizing more of the DU than she was. Because she got so many people rallied behind her to go after Jentry, but we never really followed through on that last episode. But I guess all those demons that are helping, no, because it's like she's just doing her thing as Mogwai Mooney, so there's no way. So I guess it's like, well, you kind of got what you wanted. So I guess, once again, you never fully utilized that, but I guess it was like they were on standby. But now that, like, I mean, also what happens now that basically the wardens are dead, that being Horseface and Oxhead, you know, because once again, he did die when the Mogwai bust out of him last episode. But either way, she teleports the school to the DU to kind of give herself the home field advantage. And she basically has like 4 or 5 other demons there to kind of act as like a means of keeping the place in check, and kind of eventually lets her demons run rampant. But all the while this is happening, Gentry's trying to figure out how she explains to both Stella and Michael, the people that matter the most to her, the people she cares about here, that she's leaving. You know, and especially now that things are on a better turn for her. Life has been good here now, and it's just like she finally has her mom back, but that means uprooting everything now. And so she tries to tell Stella, but then she sees like Allison and Michael. I was immediately like, they're not dating. And then we find out they are dating. I was like, wow, I completely misread that. I thought they were just being friendly and stuff, but it also makes sense because Michael's like, yo, you pushed me aside. Like, you pushed me to the sideline, because doesn't, like, they were still in that in-between space even after the month time skip last episode. No, that wasn't last episode. That was like episode 11. But it's still like, for him, it's like her pushing him away that final time was just kind of like, all right, fine. I'm going to just go. I can't put my life on pause for you. You know how I feel about you, and you're kind of pushing me aside. And it's like, and they kind of had that conversation when she kind of lets it slip like, yo, I'm going to Seoul. And she's like, yeah, I would miss you. And he's like, you don't get to miss me, Gentry, when you push me aside. I want to fight alongside of you. And she's like, you saw what happened. Like, oh, I'm a bad person because I want to protect you. I don't want you to die. He's like, yeah, but what about Kit? And she's like, what? You're comparing yourself to Kit? What? Because I won't let you kill yourself? He didn't listen to me and he died. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. That's not what I meant. Like, it's just, once again, you're heated, you're angry, you're sad, and it's just like things are falling apart. It's like, it's for you, it's like you've been reaching out and Gentry's kind of constantly pushed you away, and now she wants to embrace it. It's just back and forth of emotions. And the reason why we find out why this is hitting Michael so hard is because he's like, I've seen a vision of us fighting demons together. And she's like, you have? When? He's like, I don't know. It's super vague and blurry, but I kept holding out the hope for that. But when you push me away that final time, it's just like, I can't keep doing this to myself. I can't keep up hope for something that's not going to happen. Because she even said herself, like, your visions don't always come true. It's like, well, up until this point, they do. They're just vague enough that you can't get the grander picture of it, but so far from what we've seen, they have always come true in a matter of sense. So, but that was enough to kind of push them to like finally kiss and everything. So you're like, oh, finally, you know, it's like, it's still kind of an awkward thing because you're in a new relationship. I mean, who knows if they're actually dating or whether they're just kind of still in that courting phase. It's still kind of jacked up regardless. It's like, oh, she doesn't deserve that because she probably doesn't know she's in the middle of a complicated thing going on there. And it's just like, it's already messy too, because like there was also the Stella of it all, but once again, they seem cool, but I think there is still a little bit of an awkwardness there, but they're kind of able to move past that. Either way, Michael's kind of like, yeah, like kind of fist bumps himself like, nice. And then he's like, all right, Future, show me what you got. And it showed him. I thought he was going to be able to stop everything from happening. Like when Jentry goes in that room with her mom, it's like, no, he got the vision too late. It's just like, he's controlling his powers better. But I think that was a moment of like, I don't think that was him being like, let me see the future. It kind of seemed like it was supposed to be kind of implying that. But it might just be the thing. I thought he meant that metaphorically of like, well, like, hey, let's let the future come to me type of thing. But then it actually came to him in the vision. But either way, you got to give the Mogwai props. The fact is, it tried to play its role so smooth, like, oh, baby, I need you to give up your powers because, you know, they're kind of a curse. They're just a reminder. We might as well put them away. It's like, we'll throw them at the bottom of the sea. But Gentry's like, no, we can't do that. I learned firsthand what happens when I just, like, put those powers away and the problems that could come with it. We can't just leave these powers lying around. They're best in my hands when I'm able to control them. Plus, it helps me defend the people I love. But then the Mogwai is just like, all right, fine. Screw that, and had to reveal itself. And you know, and it's trying to take the powers from Jentry. Luckily, Jentry break the glasses, so it's like, cool. There's no means of ever using those to remove the powers from her, but there is another means. I mean, who knows if there could be a later means created. I mean, those things could probably always be remade, but the fact is that it's like, fine, I'm just going to have to rip them out of your soul if I want them, so they're kind of duking it out. The only reason why she got out of there is because Wheeler opened the door. Oh, Gentry, are you okay? I love that he was begging for Gentry to save him. Luckily, I can't remember if it was Ed that ended up saving him. Because stuff is popping off. Demons are popping up everywhere throughout the school. And Michael's trying to help out as much as he can. Gentry's fighting her mom. But it's like, it's that conundrum of, well, the last time I was about to say Chang's situation was a little different because he was super old inside of the Mogwai. So I don't know if like Gentry didn't kill Chang. It's just like his time was already up. But it's like, yeah, the only way I'm letting go of your mom right now is if you kill her. So that's your only choice. So Gentry kind of has to hold her punches. And she tries to use the chains to like rip her mom out. But it's just too, like her mom's like buried so deep. And the Mogwai's also gotten so powerful from her chi. So he's able to hold on even more so. Because when it was all said and done, the Mogwai, whatever power Chang had acquired, that's all the Mogwai had when Gentry removed Chang from it. So, but this is different. The Mogwai has all this extra power now, and it has a tighter grip on Mooney and isn't letting her go. Luckily, Ed and Stella are outside dealing with the barrier. For Stella, it's like, yo, I worked too damn hard on this lock-in that has some, whatever they are, mess this up. And so she's using the talisman. So it's like, oh, you've been, you know, putting in your time since like episode 10 is when so I guess like she's always kept some on reserve. Like, yo, I'm always ready for that next demon fight if it comes down to it. And I love they got to that one guy and she used the talisman and he blows up. And she's like, I meant to freeze him. I must have used the wrong talisman. I must have put the wrong symbol up there. She's like, Ed, could you? He's like, get that away from me. And it's like, understandable. I was like, poor Ed. But yeah, they knocked out the other remaining people except for the last one because the last one's got metaphorically speaking, but it's able to turn its head around so it's kind of got eyes everywhere. And, you know, it's got Ed and Stella, and lo and behold, who comes to the rescue? Gugu. And it's like, you know, it's like, right, I gotta put an end to this myself. I love Ed saying that line of like, oh my god, Gugu, who did that to you? I'll kill them. It's just like Gugu, like back in episode 10, being like, oh my god, Jentry, who did that to your arm? I'll find them and I'll kill them. I'm like, I love, once again, I love like that whole dynamic that even Ed's a part of that family dynamic. But yeah, because they killed all those things, they leave DU, and now Gentry's opening up all these different portals. Everyone in the school is doing their best to help push the demons through. But once again, that thing is not letting go of Mooney and ends up stabbing Jentry when she got everyone out of there. And you're just like, oh shit, and it's trying to rip out her soul. But luckily, Gugu shows up in time. And even then, it's trying to mess with her, being like, oh, are you going to kill Gentry's mom? Like, this is what you want, always to have Jentry to yourself. And she's like, no, I want Jentry to finally have the life that she chose. And ends up, like, because she used the thing that's keeping herself from bleeding and wrapped it around the Mogwai. And then she immediately jumps into and possesses Mooney's body just to kind of get to her. And, well, it was initially just like, going kind of to that plane of existence where Mooney's... I mean, I guess you could probably just straight up... Because I guess that happened by just possessing her body. Because the end result is possessing her body. But she goes in and pulls Mooney out. And stabs the Mogwai. And it's like, yeah, like, you've underestimated the Chaus too many times. And ultimately, to stop Gentry from bleeding... because one spot was in her shoulder, the other one was like in her side. The thing that was keeping Gugu from bleeding, she gives to Gentry. The Mogwai tried to get away, but Gentry grabbed him, and it's just like, there's only one thing I want from you. Because he's like, oh, let's make a deal. And it's like, torches him. So you can only assume, like, right, Pang is back to being in the DU, because I guess, like, put him back, but he's always going to be leverage I could always use in the future against you. So it's like, yeah, the last thing you want is that bastard to get away yet again. So once again, it's a sad thing of like so many things had to fall into place for the situation, the domino effects to be what it is. It's a culmination of choice. I mean, that's the sad thing about choice. There's good that comes from it, but there's also bad. You can make the decision that you think is right for you, and you have no idea how that might trickle out later on. So here Gugu is fading away. And for her, it's just like, I can't be healed. This is okay. I already died, Gentry. Because for her, I'm sure for her, it's like, I was always on, like, I always got extra time doing, being this ghost. But for her, it's like, I only stayed behind because I wanted to make sure you're okay. I wanted to protect you, but it's like, you don't need me to protect you. You're going to be okay. And for her, it's like a ghost, because I died. Like, I'm just this echo. I am just these memories. And Gentry gets the idea of like, right, since you are just nothing but memories, like, let me hold on to you, like, take some of those memories. Like, Gugu does fade, and that is very heartbreaking. The ending of this kind of did, like, I kind of felt like, especially after Mooney stabbed her, I was always kind of weary, like, that this was going to happen, that especially, like, just that Gugu was never going to be around forever. I always knew that would be the case, but like, I was just always worried. I figured this would be the end result, but especially after last episode, I was like, Gugu's gonna die. She's gonna fade away. But because there is no remedying this situation, but at least Gentry can keep Gugu alive, because it's like, right, your memories, right? So I'm gonna take all your memories and keep them in these pearls. And it's just kind of like, she's like, I thought you were done with me. It's like, I could never be done with you ever. And just, they say their goodbyes, but that doesn't make it any easier. Once again, this is the woman who did raise her. Yes, there have been complications and stuff, as we discovered over this series, some mistakes that she made, but she tried to make them right. But it's also like, because I'm sure Gentry's also the process of growing up, of like realizing and looking at the mistakes she's made and how they've played out. It's like, it's easy to kind of get swept up in everything. And I'm sure also by the end, Mooney's like, right, you did what you could to save me. This happened because I made my choice. So it's like, it's sad the situations come down to this. And we time skip to 3 weeks later. Gentry is moving to Seoul, but she's always going to pop back in. And I do love, like, now her hair is fully black again, And I think that also plays into just like, it shows how much she's grown and changed over the course of this series. And so, You know, she's packing stuff up. We even had that moment where Stella and her friend from Seoul, Gentry's friend from Seoul, like touched hands at the same time and they blushed. I was like, oh, is that the direction we're going? I was like, yeah, okay. Didn't even register. I mean, you know, Stella could easily be bi, you know, just because like her and Michael didn't vibe or whatever. It just didn't click in my head because I was like, oh, I mean, who knows? Like, she's probably never really given it much thought before, but it's kind of like, hey, you're kind of besties. I mean, Ed's one of your besties, but so is Stella too. So it's like, here's one of your besties from Seoul with one of your besties from River Forks, so. And they're packing up all the stuff, and it's like, yeah, I'll always be back. And Ed wants his own room, but it's like, you don't sleep. He's like, yeah, but I still want my own privacy. And then the scene that really like almost made me cry was the ending. I had to fight back the tears. I mean, not fight them back. I always say that, but I'm like, I'm never fighting back the tears. It's just they well, but they never drop. It's like that scene of her looking at Gugu's like portrait, and then like the beads looking at the memory, and especially, you know, her Gentry looking back on like, once again, this is the woman that raised you, even when she was a ghost, playing games with you and the other ghost, or with Ed, and you're dancing and stuff, and then like remember having that memory of Gugu's where she stashed something away from you and it was a new pendant, and you're just like, oh my god. It's just like, Jesus. And one thing Gentry sees before she leaves is the ghosts are still there in the house, and Iris is there. So it's like, it's still like, who knows what Iris's circumstances are, how much time she has left before she eventually fades. But I think Iris being here kind of makes it feel okay. Like, even though the house is kind of empty, it obviously isn't empty. So I'm curious who's going to stop by and take care of the house. Like, I'm sure Michael will from time to time check in on the place, make sure no one messes with it. But that being kind of the final shot as Gentry kind of leaves, you know, going back to Seoul, a very different person than she left, different experiences, so much happened. She's also living River Fork for similar reasons, but also different reasons. She wanted a fresh start, and she's kind of getting that refresh start again in Seoul. So, like, it's just thematically, that is so beautiful. How it's like, oh, I got this fresh start in Seoul, like, after the fire situation. Now, after all this, I'm getting another fresh start now with my mom. So, I just think that's a super beautiful thing. Like I said, we don't get the full conclusion on the Pang thing, but it's like, right, he's in DU. You actually kind of know what he's going through, but at the very least, it's like he's just going through what every other soul in DU is going through, and he's not being tortured. So, I mean, well, in the way that the Mogwai was going to. So they end things. They don't set up like oh, here's a stinger for the future, because the creator, Echo Wu, does, I think her and writers have plans for a season 2, but it is January 8th at the time of recording this. I kept like getting so far, but I'm so upset with myself. I wish I just like finished this when I had the chance, like just watch it all, because I feel better about like contributing to, hey, maybe Netflix won't cancel this, because there's not been a decision made at the time of me recording this, and so because it's been out for like a little over a month now. It's in an interesting spot because it ends on not a cliffhanger. Like, the story is resolved, so it could be a one and done. But obviously, it's a story where you're like, well, there's plenty of stories to tell. Like, I mean, there's more evil and demons and supernatural stuff that Gentry can always deal with back in River Fork and in Seoul, and her and Michael, because there's so much in that side of things we haven't explored about him and his powers and what his family know. Like, that's something we didn't really even touch on because we got the month time skip after episode 11. So maybe we could, that's something you could also explore. But it's also the thing of, maybe we won't. You know, I hope we get more, like I said, especially if the creators got a mind for more stories, even if it is just one more season. But this is a story that could easily be a multi-season story. But, you know, and if, like I said, if unfortunately this is all we get, I'm really happy with what we got. I was kind of worried, like, oh, is it going to end on a cliffhanger? And just like, no, like I said, it's just kind of interesting, like, inverse of where we start, just like thematically how that plays out. It's interesting too, well, interesting, but obviously ties into, like, you know, sad situation, the name at the end. I looked it up because I try not to Google stuff. I'm always curious, but I'm also like, I don't know, it feels a little morbid to me. But the name at the end, I saw something, I don't know if it's confirmed, but it's someone related to Echo Wu. I saw it might be her father. Might be why Gentry's dad's name is Pang, because it's Zhu Pang Wu. So well, is like the person who like is in memorial to. So it might be like her dad. I think I saw something saying it might have been her uncle. Whatever the case may be, it was someone important to her. So, you know, apparently like this story is kind of built around her own life in some capacity. In what capacities, I don't know. I didn't take a deep dive, but I was just reading some of that, and I was like, oh, you know, I mean, when you're storytelling, sometimes you take from your own personal life to kind of mix it in there and kind of deal with stuff that maybe you're dealing with. So, and I'm sure that thematically played into like losing Gugu, but also kind of holding on to Gugu, but then kind of still losing her, but still having those memories. Like, I'm sure it's like a giant allegory for everything she might have gone through losing this person important, you know, and it's something everyone goes through with their grief. So it's just thematically, I think that's super beautiful and just very heartbreaking and sad. But yeah, like I said, I hope we get a season 2. Like I said, I've done my part now watching it to completion. I just wish I'd done it sooner, because I'm sure the early numbers matter the most to Netflix. Longevity is one thing, but like the early numbers are what matter the most. So hopefully this allows for the show will get a second season. Like I said, if it doesn't, that's what's I'd be okay with it because the ending being what it is, but I'd also just want more stories with these characters, because it's a fun story that has a lot of heart and soul to it, you know, pun it kind of intended. So I'd love to see what other adventures Gentry and the crew would get up to in the future, and what challenges that might look like, considering like also never got the Chang appearance like I thought we would, but once again, he's in the DU doing his thing, so he could always pop up again depending on circumstances. Like I said, what is the DU like now? Like specifically, that court/prison, considering like the 2 main wardens are gone. So yeah, at this point, I'm just rambling. I'm so sorry. So I'll just kind of end things there. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.